Om Shri Sai Ram. My dear students, let us study poem of Khalil Gibran, that is unit number 3 in your textbook. There are two spellings, Khalil, K-A-H-L-I-L, Gibran, and in some other versions, K-H-A-L-I-L, and here as it is an Arabic word, so naturally there are many spellings, and here it is also pronounced as Khalil Gibran. Both are absolutely acceptable by everyone. If you want to know the overview of the poem, so here is, it is a relationship between God and human beings, and possessiveness and emotional aspects of human beings. Number 3, it is emphasizing on physical and metaphysical aspects of divine connect with human beings. This is the overall view of the poem On Children by Khalil Gibran. Khalil Gibran starts his poem with this: your children are not your children. What a shocking news! Perhaps it must have been for the mother who had come to meet the prophet, and she wanted to ask something of and for his child, and she asks the prophet to tell something on children. At that, the prophet says, your children are not your children. What, it's really a horrifying surprise. Why does he say so? Why does the prophet say so? Because he says, they means your children are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. What do you mean by life's longing? Life is what? Divine. So, life wants all human beings to be there for its own sake. When there are no human beings, there won't be any life. There won't be any God. There won't be any universe. There won't be any creation. So, he says, they are the sons and daughters of life's longing. For that is the desire of life. He wants these sons and daughters for itself. That is the desire. And in the second line, they come through you, not from you. See the wonderful usage of the prepositions of through and from. When you say that they come through you, means you are only a medium, and that refers to the biological happening. And when you say that from you, that is from God. And here it refers to the metaphysical expression. So it is that tells you, the first one tells you about that they are not through you. Yes, they are through you but not from you. They are through you. What do you mean by that? Here they use a juxtaposition of the prepositions. Through refers to the genetic physical production, and from is that God. Without God's blessing, there can't be any creation. That is why he says, though they are with you, yet they don't belong to you. They not belong to you. What does it mean? They are with you. You are the parents. You have to pay the rent. You have to take care of the being. You can take care of their clothes. So they are with you only. But they never belong to you. Means they never belong to you. Belonging comes, a position, and you can't have the position of your children. They are there only for that with you in the family. And you can say that I have got 3 sons, 2 daughters, 3 daughters, like that. But you can't have any grip over the children. Here you just see from the screen or from your textbooks, you may give them your love. You see, Prophet says so astonishingly, you can give them your love because you are a parent, and it is bounden duty to pamper them, to love them, but not your thoughts. You see, this love and thoughts, love is for physical love, thoughts refers to the mental. Don't interfere with their souls. That is the meaning here. You can love them, pamper them, drown them with your affection, but you should not bother them, bother their souls with your thoughts. Why? Why you should do so? For it is a conjunction there. It is not a preposition. For they have their own thoughts. Why should you not interfere with their souls? Why should you not interfere with their mind? Because they have got their own thoughts. You should not interfere with their thoughts. Here, the poet wants to say clearly that their children, they are emotionally theirs, but not the promotion. And you can't overpower their souls with your thoughts. And in the next para, it is a prose poem, and it is not any versification. And that is very simple also. You can read it. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. As I have already told you, you don't have any authority over their souls. You have the authority only for the bodies, because you have given the bodies. But the souls are given by God. And for another reason for that, their souls dwell in the houses of tomorrow. They always think of the future. They always think of tomorrow. They are always worried of their tomorrow. So don't bother with them with your thoughts. And here says, their souls are dwelling in the house of tomorrow, wherein you can't visit. Which you can't visit. Is it possible for the parent to see, to go deep into the minds? Absolutely no. No. Absolutely no. And not in your dreams. Leave apart. And even in your dreams also, you can't visit them. You can't overpower them. You can't do that. And in the next 2 lines, you may strive to be like them. You see, this is parents, parents, say that, what is that? You may strive to be like them. He tells the parents, yes, hello, parents, hello, parents, you can wish to be like your children, but don't make your children to be like yourselves. Never do that. You may strive to be like them. You can be the children, but still you should not expect the children to be yours. For, why does he say so? Why does the prophet say so? He says, because for life goes not backward. Here backward is not with any caste and other things. It can't go behind. The past you can't get past. You can't re-get or regain the past. And neither it is going to go backward nor tarries. Tarries means stays with yesterday. Whether the life is going to stay with yesterday. Can we tell, no, yesterday you were so nice for me, I want you to be with me? And whether that is going to be accepted? No. So she says, you neither you can go backward, nor you can stay in your yesterday. And now in the first part of the poem, he tells the parents not to interfere with their children. And the prophet gives his own reasons, as we have already seen. You should not bother, you should not trouble their souls, you should not command their souls. You can. But here, in the next part of the poem, that is the very interesting part, and he gives a sort of analogy here, a beautiful symbol. He says, you are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. Here you see the relationship. Bows are the parents and the arrows, living arrows, are the sons and daughters or the children. The archer, because when you have got the arrows and the bow, you need an archer. Without an archer, bows and arrows will be useless. You see, Khalil Gibran has brought a beautiful triangle here. The archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite, and he just says it. Yes, from to that distance, I have to send the arrows. And for that, he wants to bend the bows. Who are the bows? You are the bows. My parents, here he just tells the parents, you are the bows and you are my strength. And if you are not strong, if you can't sustain my power over you, I can't do my duty. I can't send the arrows. There is that he bends you with his might. Because the bending of the bow is very important. And if the bow is bent very, very tightly, without breaking, without getting the put sound, and if you are a weak bow and you will break it, and you will have that explosion and you will come out. But I want you to be a strongest bow. I need you. I need you, parents, as bows very strong. And with you, that I can, his arrows, he bends you with his might. He, the Lord, the God, Swami, bends you. Oh, parents, bends you with his might. Because unless and until he uses his power, he uses his strength, he can't bend. Because you have seen Ramayana and Mahabharata, Rama lifted that, it was with all force, like that you have already seen. So you have to be a strong bow, and his arrows are going to be swift and far. His arrows may go swift and far. If you cooperate with God with your flexible bending, if you sustain the power and strength of the God, the arrows are going to send the arrows swift and far. Your bending with all strength gives me the strength, says the God, to let them fly swift and far. And you can't even imagine to which distance I am going to send those children, those arrows. And let your bending, next point here, let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. You don't feel that, what? The pain. Ayo, how much he bends. don't have that pain. So you must be very glad to be bent in the hands of the archer. That gives the strength to the archer, to the god, to send the living arrows to any distance. And for even as he loves the arrow that flies, naturally he loves, because God wants. Why does the God want the children? Because he wants to keep the desire of life forever. That is why he loves the arrows who are going to go to the long distance that flies. So also he loves the bow that is stable. Hello parents, you are stable bows. You are going to be there in one place. You are not going away like arrows. Don't think that God is not interested in you, because you have also got a better role. If you are stable, even if you are stable, you are going to give me the strength to send the arrows. This is my own explanation of Khalil Gibran's poem. The second point that I want to present it in the form of a triangle. Why I have just thought on this triangle, keeping the God at the pinnacle or at the climax or at the height? Because he needs both the arrows and the bows. He has got his two hands on these two. That is why point is here and point is here. So the first one refers to the students. I call Khalil Gibran calls them children, but I, as a teacher, call them students. And here parents' role is that of the teachers. Teachers are parents. So here, if the god or if the archer is God and he is a perfect master to play that, and he is the main one who plays with both and helping them both. He sends the children to the height that he wants to and he wants the teachers also to cooperate with him. That is what our Swami says, is it not? And in your every Sunday you are going to attend that bhajana karakram, and also you listen to the talks of Swami. What does he say? So he just appeals to the parents, leave your children in my care. Leave your children to my care. It is my responsibility to take care of them. It is me who is going to decide their future. So don't bother about them. Don't interfere their souls. So as long as I am in charge, for that you have to help me. If you cooperate with me, there is a joint cooperation between divine and the human beings. It's a wonderful triangle of relationships. What kind of relationships? Human and divine. It's a beautiful human and divine connect or connection. So I just like this poem, only for this point. The second point is to be highlighted here, and it is a triangle. Yes, the life itself is a triangle, and with so many angles it can be seen. And here is my explanation of the second point of Khalil Gibran on children. And now coming to the saddest part for all the students, assignment. Not only a saddest part, it is a joyous part also. When you understand the poem, you must be eager to know and write about that. This needs, reading and rereading of the poem. Manana is very important. If you don't concentrate on that idea, you can't do that. So here, question number 1. What do the words archer, bows and arrows refer to? One mark question. So here God, parents and children. And second point, you have to explain in your own words. That is very important. What is that? Your children are not your children. They come through you and not from you. Herein, you can, after explaining the idea of Khalil Gibran in the first part of the poem, you should not forget the mystic use of the prepositions through and from. And being language students, you have to stress on the proper usage of the prepositions. Please don't forget to write on the role of the prepositions here. Do you agree with the poet's view about the relation between God and children and God and parents? That is absolutely your view. These are the views of Khalil Gibran. Do you agree? If you agree, why? If you don't agree, why? You have to give the reasons. And the next assignment is, why does the poet tell God loves the arrows that flies, and similarly he loves also stable bows? So you please concentrate on these questions and read them, meditate on them and write on them. Thank you.